do a little intro here. There we go. I What's up, guys, and welcome to another wonderful show put on by the Xbox Dive.
Hello, James.
Hello, Chris. How's it going?
Going well,
You already
thanks.
know us. You know our names. You see us down below. So we're going to kick this show off with a little Gears of War 4 talk. Are you up for that, Chris?
Oh man, I'm in Gears mode, dude. Let's do
Awesome. Because it's right around the corner. Now, Chris, you've heard of Digital Foundry, right?
it. I have, yes.
Okay. Well, they took Gears of War 4 and they put it to the test. They actually took Gears of War 4, what we have now, it's been released out for review. They compared it to the original E3 demo and said, how do they compare?
And it was like 1 for 1, right?
Right. Well, actually, as always, because those demos are a vertical slice, it's not a finished game, it's sort of a concept.
Sure.
But when they compared the two, they found that Gears of War 4 has some downgrades since that demo came out. They said shadows aren't as crisp. They said lighting is off. They said the weather effects in the original demo, they said they were absolutely bonkers crazy. All the lightning and wind, and it was terrifying and scary. They said the new one, while it is impressive, it's more like a light breeze compared to the original demo. So the question is, how do you feel about, because gamers get pretty mad about this. How do you feel about what they call, the bait and switch, where they show us this certain demo originally, and then the final product, well, close, doesn't represent exactly what we were promised? Because this seems to be something pretty big in the news right now, especially with things like No Man's Sky, all the flack it's getting, people trying to take it to court, false advertising. Same thing with Gearbox with Alien Colonial Marines. It's been something that's really happened this generation where we've got these demos that people are expecting. They've got these really high hopes. And then the final game comes out, and it's not really what they expect.
So let me tell you a story, James.
Should I close my eyes, take a nap?
There was this strapping young man who many years ago tried to woo the love of a beautiful woman.
Okay.
And this young man would shave before he would get fancily dressed, and he would wear some fine cologne. And he would put cologne. He would put extra product in his hair and stare at the mirror at least 10 to 15 minutes before ever leaving the room.
Sure.
This same man now, when he picks his wife up for a date, rarely wears pants. So
well, that's expected married life, right?
That's right. No, this is, so I don't know how I don't know that this really.
I'm not quite sure how that story kind of goes into what we're talking about, but
it's exactly. Look, Gears and E3 is trying to woo said mate.
Sure.
They want you to bring it home and play with it for a long time, and but then after you drop down your $50 or your $60 and slowly undress it and insert it into your console, it really doesn't care what it looks like because you've already made the investment, right? Sure. And I don't know that that's 100% true. If you want to know my actual opinion, I think what we saw it running on was Scorpio. But that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
The point is, whenever you make a presentation, you want to put 100% your best foot forward.
Sure.
Those games are super early, and that's what most people, when they start to do these comparisons, what they don't really take into consideration is, like, at that time, it's probably a 10-minute small bite-sized chunk of what is going to eventually have to fit on a Blu-ray disc and be pressed and shipped out to retailers worldwide. So before you start adding all the different layers to it and all the voice acting and all the stuff that's going to go in there, it's easy to take this really straight linear path that you're going to show for a demo and just jack everything way up.
Sure. And 100%, absolutely. Plus they don't really know hardware specifications, what's going to happen, right?
Sure.
Because, they think this is what the hardware might be able to handle. But you're right. They don't have all the environments going on at once. And that original demo, if I remember right, there's only like one enemy, right? Like, they went around the corners of that building and then like one enemy popped up. I'm trying to remember how that went.
Yeah, it's like a beast looking thing.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of weather effects. It felt very small and intimate, which is what they were trying to get across. That
Sure.
It was going to be a different pace, for Gears, which actually has me excited. I think there are two paths here though. Like, so we look at something like what's the Alien game? Colonial Marines.
Colonial Marines, yep.
Right. And that game looks like a fundamentally different game.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if Gears of War looks to have maybe fewer lighting particle effects, if the wind doesn't blow quite as hard as it did in the demo,
sure.
If
they couldn't afford enough fans, man. I mean, they had so many fans, they couldn't afford them.
There's a fine line between calling somebody out for deceiving fans,
right,
and just looking at the realistic expectation that 3 years ago or 2 years ago when they showed it, they really didn't know what the game even was going to be fully at that time. And so they had to put something together to whet our appetite. And, of course, you got to understand Microsoft is probably pressuring them too. It's like, we've got to show Gears. We've got to show Gears. You've got to give us something to show.
And tell Nintendo that. Where's my NX, man?
I don't want to talk about Nintendo tonight. So I'm having a rough time with Nintendo products. So look, I'm okay with a flashy presentation as long as what's delivered is true to the essence of what they were doing,
sure, and
is fundamentally the same experience. I don't. No Man's Sky is getting a lot of grief, and
right. But with that one, it's a little different because with that one, they really promised way more than what they delivered on. They bit off way more than they could chew.
I mean, see, I don't even know that I agree with that.
Sure.
I think Sony ruined that game.
But the funny thing is with that game, Sony's come back and said, no, it was the No Man's Sky creators' fault. They were talking it up too much.
Oh,
because they didn't understand how to do, like PR and all that stuff.
Sure, of course they would. But what happened? What had happened was somebody at Sony was looking at their roster of games, which looked about like my hand. Do you see? There's nothing on my hand. That's because they had no games to show, and they were like, we have a console that's for some strange reason flying off the shelves, but we have no good first party content to put on it. So we need to pump something up. So
sure.
they hear the promise of this game, and it sets the world on fire, and they're like, we're gonna push this game as a Sony exclusive.
Sure.
And dude, I am sure that there were units that were of PlayStation units that were moved because of the hype that was put behind it.
Sure. I actually know people who said they were buying a PlayStation 4 for No Man's Sky, which I was surprised by. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize there was that much hype behind the game. But actually, to kind of get off the No Man's Sky vibe we're going with here, to bring it back, kind of Gears and Microsoft, things like that, especially with Scorpio coming out. Now, we know Scorpio is coming out next year. So E3 is going to be like all Scorpio all the time, right? Every demo they're going to show will be on Scorpio. You know it will, 100%. It's going to look better. It's going to run better. What's going to happen when people with their normal Xbox Ones and Xbox One S's bring this home and it doesn't look how it did on the demo? Because I think what we're seeing now is, like I said before, early concept. This is what it's going to be. Then we'll make it look as fancy as possible, right? Same thing can happen with Watch Dogs too. They hyped that for so long, and when they showed that off, Watch Dogs originally, that was back on the 360 PS3 generation, and you saw this game, you're like, there's no way this is running on current gen hardware. It's just not. So next year, when all the demos will be running on PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox Scorpio, things are going to look way nicer. That Gears demo that we saw, they're comparing everything to, that could be a reality on Scorpio. It's not on the One and the One S, but the Scorpio, it could be a reality. So how is that going to mess with things? Because people are going to see all these great demos, think, oh my gosh, this looks amazing, I can't wait to play this, and bring it home on their One S. It's not going to look the same.
But that's what's happening now. Like, don't fool yourself to think any game that they show on stage at an event is on that hardware.
Right now,
those games are on ultra res PCs.
Exactly.
That's just that's what they are. And so it's really no different. I mean, they're going to show games. It may be because I believe the Scorpio is going to basically be an ultra res PC. Mm-hmm. Maybe they are finally going to show them on Scorpio, and that's fine. But very rarely do you see a game on stage that's going to look exactly like that when you bring it home, because that is on a super smooth PC rig that they're playing that on.
Sure.
I do worry a little bit, just because I think that the average gamer may end up being uninformed when something like Scorpio comes out. And so when they see a game, you're right, everything is going to be demoed or shown with Scorpio graphics. And hopefully, Microsoft will do something where it's like best played on Xbox Scorpio, or whatever the name is. But at the end of the day, let's jump. Scorpio's out next year. In 2 years, when Halo 6 comes out, mm-hmm. they're going to show everything for Halo 6 in 4K.
Oh, right. Sure.
Whether you have a TV for or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to show. They're all the promos and stuff are going to be in 4K with HDR, and they're going to. It's going to be ultra res on either high end PC or on Scorpio. And then if you are a person who has a launch Xbox One, mm-hmm. and you bring that game home, it's just not going to look the same. And if you are just uninformed about what you're buying, then there is going to be some disappointment, and there may be some backlash. But this just goes back to Microsoft has to do a really good job when they come out next year at E3, really explaining the difference between the SKUs.
Sure. Well, let me kind of change it then. Gamers are obviously, they get upset about this stuff. That's why they're suing video game companies, saying, hey, you're not delivering what you promised. Do gamers have the right to be upset? Because the creators can do whatever they want. We as gamers, we are living off of their promises, and what they promised at the beginning might not be what they deliver at the end. And that's why all these, everybody sues everybody for everything now, right? That's just the horrible reality. But sure, the average gamer gets mad, goes off on the internet, or rarely. Actually, that's all the time. But do they have the right to be upset? Or as gamers, should we learn to shift our perspective a little bit? Because I'm thinking, really, you're right. I think because, growing up a gamer, back on like NES, Super NES, Sega Genesis, whatever, you had the cartridge, you popped it in, you played it, looked the same across the board no matter where you played it. It didn't matter, which version you had, it never played better than the other version. It was always the same. This is the first time where we're going to have consoles of the same generation where it's going to look different, like multiple Xboxes, original S and Scorpio. It's going to run slightly different. We've never had that on a home console before. So I think gamers should they just learn to kind of, like I said, change of perspective, or are they still going to get angry?
Well, they're gamers and they are on the internet, so they're going to get angry. So this is actually an interesting question, because I think my honest answer is that they do have a right to be upset, but in the same way, and we're going to kind of veer a little off schedule here. So let's. I remember the first time it registered with me that I bought a giant bag of chips, and I opened them, and it was only half full.
It had the air in it, so the chips would get crushed.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
of course. But like when I I bought with my own money, and I'm like, this is my bag of chips.
Sure.
Where are my chips, right? Or every time you go into whatever McDonald's and they show this great looking, perfectly stacked Big Mac with all the lettuce perfectly, stacked on top of
And
each
you open
other.
it, it's like falling apart, and like the bun's kind of crooked. Yeah,
it's like somebody just poked it with it and it like deflated, down, right? So
someone sit on it. It's how they keep it warm.
Yeah. So to be completely honest with you, I would rather you just show me what I'm going to get, right?
Sure, absolutely.
But they're not going to do that because if they showed you what it really looks like, you'd never pay money for it because it just doesn't. If bag of chips came with a line, right? If a bag of chips came with a line that was like, your chips are only going to go to here. It's like a giant bag. It's like this big a bag.
Sure.
It's like, but your chips are only,
dude.
like realistically, you wouldn't buy it, right? No. So let's go back. So let's bring it back. So yes, if I am a consumer, right, and they show me a game that looks amazing, and then I put it in the thing that I have, if it's not the latest thing that they released and it doesn't look as good, I do have the right to be upset about that because I was sold something that I'm not. Unless, again, going back to, unless Microsoft does a good job of explaining this is on Scorpio, this is in 4K, this is an HDR, now, this is only like this on Scorpio.
Sure. Now, what I think they could do, which could really help with this, I think there's two things they could do. One, launch games sooner after they announce them. Because right now, the problem is they announce something and show something off in like early concept stage. It's before it's even like made. They said, here's what we think we're going to do, right? But then you have to wait, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, before the game comes out. Of course it's going to change a lot. If they did something where they waited closer to launch, maybe they didn't show something at E3 until it's coming out that year or early the following year. Not have these big, long, drawn-out development cycles. Maybe they're letting us behind the curtain a little too soon. Maybe that's part of the problem. I mean, I understand Microsoft wants to sell product, right? They want to sell product. So they're going to do this. They're going to show it to us really early to build that hype. That's good and bad. One, it builds up these unrealistic expectations. But then also, by the time the game comes out, some of that hype can die off because it's taking so long to release. The other thing they could do, which is actually happening now, more for on the indie game side, early access. I think if they gave us early access content, like little bits and pieces of the game as it's going along, and you actually see demos with your eyes and playing with your hands, and I think you would better understand how game development works because you'd be testing out the bugs and seeing from start to finish. I think you would have much more appreciation for the game that way. So I think the two things they could do is either give us some early access, which they're kind of doing on the indie side and somewhat on the beta side. Because if you remember when the Gears of War 4 beta came out, I don't think you played it, did you, Chris? Because you didn't really care about Gears when that beta was out.
No.
I played it, and when that came out, a lot of people say, man, this frame rate doesn't look very good. Man, these graphics don't look very good. I'm so surprised. But the coalition even told us, this is really early. We are doing this for, server tests and see how people play. Because nowadays, when they say beta, it's like a week before the game comes out. It's the finished product. It's not a beta. They're just, doing some final server testing. The game is done. What Gears 4 did with their beta, they released it pretty early. I think if they did that more often and gave us a better perspective of what we think we're going to get, that could really help with this.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I do think it's funny, though, that we, a developer will release a game and they'll clearly state and tell everybody this is pre-alpha. Right. Or alpha, right? Or pre-beta. And then everybody wants to complain, oh my goodness, the frame rate's bad, it looks bad, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we told you this game's not fixed. But then when the other thing happens, like something like Gears, where their pre-alpha was built to look good, right? But it's still the same thing. Mm-hmm. They're still unhappy because, it doesn't live up to the same. Like, look, alpha is alpha. The first time you see a video game, it is almost never going to be exactly like that. There's going to be something that's different. It's just the way that it works. And so I do think it's funny. I do like the idea of the preview program,
Mm-hmm.
or like Steam does early access,
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of their stuff. I like that. An easy fix is just to go back to demos.
Yeah, right.
Put a demo on the marketplace.
Now, actually, Recore, speaking of demos, Recore actually has a 30-minute demo out now. I mean, they're kind of
do,
slowly going back to demos. It's taking a while, but they are.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's actually not a really good sign, to be honest. That to me says, because if you remember when Sunset Overdrive came out,
Mm-hmm.
That like a couple of weeks after that game launched, they were like, "Hey, everybody, we're gonna let you play the whole game for free on Saturday."
Yeah, and people finish the whole game. Right.
So
we need to buy
that to me is saying that Record is not selling well.
Right.
They're trying to get some more buzz.
Exactly. I mean, and going just off a tangent on like Star Fox Zero, they did the same thing. Like a month after release, they did a demo for that. That should have been before the game came out.
That's not.
But so guys, let us know. How do you feel about the whole, bait and switch going on? What can they do to fix this for gamers? I mean, do gamers have the right to be upset about this, or do you think we just need to kind of change our perspectives? Let us know in the comments down below. You can always hit us up on Facebook or on Twitter at the Xbox Dive. Make sure to check it out. Let us know what you think.
So long.
Hey guys, we hope you really enjoyed this contest from Xbox Dive. If you like what you saw, make sure to comment and subscribe down below. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Till next time guys, we're out.